everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Triggered. I'm your host, Zachary Clark, and you all know my co-host, Adam Furman. Adam, did you notice anything about tonight?
You've got like 4 shots in your glass. That's what I noticed.
Yeah. My old friend Johnny Walker and I are going to be on the show tonight. So, it should be a good one. And who could miss that we also have a special guest, Adam? I can't believe you didn't point this out. It wasn't just that I was drinking a drink.
Yeah, I didn't want to anger you.
Way to go, Adam. How you leave me out?
See?
You can't anger Zach with his Johnny Walker friend.
No regard here at all. But we have a special guest tonight. Our special guest tonight is the number one Heat 1995 fan. Totally, also known as
What's up?
as the Rip City Thug. Also,
I'm so glad that this username has done so well for me, because when I originally came up with it, I couldn't think of any usernames, and I was like, well, I just want to make up something that sounds like an Xbox Live username. And now it's stuck.
no, you have to add an underscore, 2 X's, some 69s on there, all right? If it's appropriate.
Yeah,
Xbox
69
Live.
420.
All right, Zach, since you're drinking, I'm drinking these beers that I didn't finish the other night.
Oh. Well, this usually, as everyone who watches the show knows, that it goes down a little smoother if you have a beverage in hand. So, recommend. But we got a good show for you folks tonight. We are going to do, this is a special episode, special guest for a special episode, and we are doing a deep dive into Michael Mann's 1995 masterpiece film. I don't want to say hit film because I don't think it had a lot of commercial success at the time. I want to say, I feel like
I don't know. I think it did. I think it got like a huge box office return.
Oh, well, maybe I'm completely wrong. It's par for the course.
I feel like it's I guess we'll get into that, I'm sure, but yeah, go ahead.
But first, as usual, I will have to tell you all that we're coming to you live straight from a Brinks robbery off of Venice Boulevard. I pulled 3 dead bodies off the street, and so I'm sorry. I'm sorry if the fried chicken's overcooked tonight, everyone. Adam's only seen the film once, so he probably doesn't even get that reference.
Oh, Adam.
What do you mean I don't get the reference? Well, in fairness, I watched the last half of it when I was very sick. So
did you even finish the movie?
Oh yes, when De Niro and Pacino are holding hands.
Hey. Oh,
yes. Spoiler alert to Elrad.
Spoilers. This film from 1995, we don't want to spoil anything for anyone. But, and I did find out, and I'll hold on to this. This will be a little treat for everyone. Something I saw on the internet today. Just coincidentally related to this topic. But we will get into that. But first, Adam, what is the segment that we usually do first? I can't remember. What does it have to do with topic-wise? I just can't recall if it has something to do with a local...
Oh, yes, breaking news.
Scanner Radio. Scanner Radio. So this in this segment,
it does help to have a beverage.
In this segment, we explore the local Scanner Radio channel on the Western Central Illinois police scanner page. And tonight we have Highway C, Monroe County, Missouri. Report of someone shooting firearms out of a vehicle. Missouri State Highway Patrol en route, probably on their way escaping from a bank heist where they're in a desperate shootout, boxed in on all sides by cops. After they've just pulled off the score of their lives. The $12 million deal
again.
plucked right out of the sky. Or it could just be some lunatics in Missouri firing guns out of their car.
It's not even. And you know the
It's just
sheriff's
like-
just like, yeah, whatever. It's
just like a car
those
back
Johnson
backfiring.
boys.
These people just seem to think it was deer hunting again. But I don't know. I think it's after deer season.
I'm happy with Deborah's prayers for everyone involved.
Oh, that's classic scanner radio. Prayers for all involved and those responding. Sometimes it'll be like,
Does deer season ever end, though?
guy arrested.
I mean, it's like too early for deer season to end. You cycle through all the different various weapons. I mean, it's pretty soon. It's like pocket knife season.
No, there's like antlerless season and late winter
That's
chronic
exactly what I'm
wasting
saying.
disease season. There's all kinds of deer seasons that I don't know anything about. I do know that. So the only thing I do is I go squirrel hunting every now and then. And I've never actually caught a squirrel in the wild, so they've been safe from my deadly clutches to the date. But you're not supposed to go during the weekends of firearm deer season, and I accidentally did one time. So, confession, I've committed heinous
Why would you
crimes.
do that?
I've committed
Why would you
heinous,
say that right
heinous crimes. I walked around the woods with a gun and didn't shoot at anything. You're all going to be witnesses in the
do that at deer
trial
with a
against
22.
But I learned my lesson. I learned the rules, and now I abide by them strictly in all things. But no, there was a lot of interesting Heat takes, even recently, and I was shocked by this. I was shocked because I did a little preliminary poking around just to pull up some stuff. And within the last few days, there's been several Substack articles of people talking about Heat. And I didn't figure out why. But it turns out that Sunday is Michael Mann's 80th birthday. So,
Oh yeah, that I was just talking to somebody about that. I forget who it was. I think it was like Hermes or someone in the group chat. I was like, yeah, I always forget that he's like 80 years old. I always think of him as just being like 50.
you only stay 50 for so long, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously.
But they had this little video attached, so let's give it a little quick play.
What was that like directing those two guys, two icons like that? How did you approach?
With great respect, number one. All three of us very respectful of that scene because it was the heart of the picture.
I will not hesitate. Not for a second. Maybe that's the way it'll be.
I knew I had to be at the top of my game, to work with these guys, and I think I was.
I agree, Michael. I agree. You were at the top of your game. Al Pacino was a little squirrely on his game in the film.
Well,
That's like how he
do you
is,
know
though,
why?
isn't it?
The rumor was that he was just wasted on cocaine.
No, he played. Well, I don't know how true that is, but he said in an interview that he played his character as if he were on cocaine.
Okay.
So, and so that's why he's like constantly chewing gum all the time, and he's like doing like just like outlandish stuff, like the whole like, God, who's the guy? It's like the guy that Val Kilmer's wife is cheating on him with. And they go over to wherever he is, and he's like, oh, like why'd I get involved with that woman? And Al Pacino was like, because she has a great ass. Like, it's like all those things, like it's just him like really just like messed up on coke the whole time.
When I see
For the character.
an ass, I just lose it.
Yeah, when he goes to the guy who's doing the cars and stuff, he meets him down in where does he go out and
It's like a chop shop or
like
something.
his cousin, yeah, the chop shop and stuff. That was like, I was like, what is going on here? He seems kind of like out of it, but that would explain
like
it
the
if he was
informant
acting
guy?
like he.
Yeah. When he first meets up with that informant, he's like, I haven't heard from you. You're wasting my time.
Oh yeah. What have you got?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like leaving, and then he's like the slick. He mentioned slick or whatever, and then he's like,
no.
"Oh wait,
that was
hold on."
separate.
Yeah.
That was the next night at 2 a.m. or whatever when he met
Correct.
with his
Correct.
cousin or brother. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
at the nightclub or whatever.
Yeah, in Phoenix or Las Vegas or wherever.
Tone Loc.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Some of his.
Sorry, I haven't seen it 10 plus times since I saw it, so I don't know. It's
Yeah, I literally just like watched it last night.
I watched it. I finished up my my rewatch this afternoon. I've probably seen it
Nice.
like 5 times.
Yeah, it's really funny that like everyone gives me crap for being like, oh, like you don't read books ever. I'm like, yeah, like I struggle to get through them, and I'm just like constantly watching a 3-hour movie like over and over and over again.
Well, it's really much more
No, I was,
compelling than a lot of literature. So I'll say that I can spend
well, right, because
an easier 3 hours watching Heat.
Heat is cinematic, right? It's not like it's not like a theme park ride, using Martin Scorsese's terminology there. I mean, it's like there's intent in the movie and multiple layers rather than just like, hey, let's have a fun movie, which it is, but like it's not just like a bunch of CGI and garbage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And it's funny because I've gotten to the point where like some of the layers I just sort of like have skipped through them. Like, Zach, you were saying you were at Wayne Grove's part where he kills the prostitute or whatever. I skipped that at this point. I cut the movie. I do my own edit of the movie where I just skip some of these parts. I've seen it so many times I don't really need to see them.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can get into it, but there's like different layers to the thing, and I often describe at some point getting down to different layers is sort of like eventually you're just sniffing your own farts. You're drinking your fine wine or whatever to taste the granite crushed stone at the bottom. And I'm like, at that point in time, you're drinking rocks, and I don't know what is enjoyable about this. So, but without even going that far, so there is the theme park ride elements to the film, I think. I think that, for example, the shootout scene, classic, and most like dude bros that you talk to that have seen Heat are going to be like, oh, dude, that's so sick that they were shooting up everything and they were gunning down guys and cops were getting wasted. It was awesome. And so it has an element of like this action movie schlock, but executed at a level that's like surgical, and things that talking to Elrad had keyed me in, that there are even elements baked into the gunfight scene that create this depth down to the model of rifle that the different characters are armed with. So, for example, Chris has his AR, and but Al Pacino, and I don't know what there was a particular thing. Like, why does he have wasn't it like an Italian?
So yeah, like it gets even crazier than that. Actually, Mike Roach turned me on to something else. It's not it's in the big shootout, but it's another scene. But yeah, so it's like Val Kilmer and De Niro and Val Kilmer have what are Colt? I think they're both Colt 733s. They're sort of like a progenitor to like M4s and things like that.
Okay.
Which to me seems like, I don't know why I think this, but to me, like, it just makes sense for them to have those. And I don't know why I think that way. It just sort of makes sense in some way. And you look at the other cops, and what's his name? I don't know that his name in the movie, but like the actor is Wes Studi, who's he's the Native American actor. He's really famous for a lot of stuff. But he has what I'm pretty sure is like an M16A2. And then the other cops have like Remington 870s, I believe. So fairly like popular guns. The other thing about it is that Pacino's character, they mentioned that he's like a Vietnam vet. He was in the Marine Corps. I feel like it's sort of like hinted, but it never explicitly ever says it, and maybe it doesn't even hint at it. But I have a feeling that like, because these guys are like, they're not beat cops, like these guys are like hard ass, like they're high end like detectives, homicide detectives, and so I'm sort of like under the impression that it's like the subtext is that these guys are some sort of like ex-military. So it makes sense, like, all right, it would make sense for a guy who's been in the military to use an M16A2. It makes sense for a guy to have a Remington 870. Pacino has an FNC, which is a Belgian gun. That's the same company that made like the FALs, which were famous. This is sort of a weird conspiracy theory that I have, is that maybe so the FN FAL, which is an FAL, which is used by Sizemore in the beginning of the movie, the Brinks truck, or whatever the armored truck is. He has one. Those are famous guns. They're really famous because they were used in Rhodesia, and like the Belgian Congo and stuff like that. So it's, to me, like the like historical context to me is maybe he was in Vietnam. He was a Marine in Vietnam. He got out, saw Soldier of Fortune magazine, and went and signed up to go fight in Rhodesia, and like that's where he got used to this gun. I don't know, because it's really
sick.
Weird. That's my own personal like weird fan theory, because again, to me, it's really weird to me that he has that rifle. Like, it would make so much more sense for him to have an M16. And then the other side of that is that Tom Sizemore is rocking an Israeli, an IMI Galil ARM, which I think is probably a 30 caliber gun, but it may be a 308. I don't remember off the top of my head. But that's also, like, to me, it's like, why are you rocking that? The other thing that's about that about Sizemore having that gun is, I don't know if this is a breach of continuity that Michael Mann just didn't pick up on or something, or if maybe this is just like the way that it was done. But there's a couple of shots where he has the stock of that gun, and then a couple of shots where there is no stock. And so there's like one scene in particular where they're inside the bank, and he has his jacket, and the gun is sort of like half inside his jacket, but if you look close enough, there's no stock going on, or it's collapsed. But he has a short strap. And then there's another scene later, like after he's running out, and I think it's like right before he picks that kid up, he also has no stock on the gun. So it's like, what are you doing, like rocking this sort of like high-powered Israeli rifle, stockless? It's just like a really weird thing. It's a weird gun. It's just a weird gun for him to have, in my opinion. And those are the two things that I picked up on a long time ago, and I've talked to people about it, and no one's really given me like a good answer for that, because like in my mind, Michael Mann, he's a specific director. Like to me, I'm like, there's a reason why. I don't know what it would be. It's like, I wish I could like go and ask him, like, hey, like, why'd you give these guys these weird guns when everyone else has like really like normal guns? Like you'd expect someone to have some sort of like M4 type of gun. I don't know. Like that makes sense to me in 1995.
Right.
Yeah, and I could see that, and to the extent that there was this selection made, there seemed to have been intentionality behind it. I think that sometimes you go too far down the rabbit hole thinking about this stuff, and then Mike Mann does an interview. He's like, "Well, those were the guns that the guy had, so we just used them and rolled with it in the scenes or whatever."
Yeah, it's that. So the other thing I was talking about is in the scene where there was like the weird ambush and Val Kilmer rolls on the rooftop. Yeah, he's firing an I believe it's an HK. An HK93 A2 or A1 or something like that. Is that what it is? I think that's what it is. So Mike Roach turned me on to this. In 1980, there was a very famous bank robbery shootout by these guys. It was in Norco, California. And I ended up reading this book. I read most of the book. I rented it from the library. But I listened to a podcast and watched some videos about it. But basically, these 5 guys robbed this bank, and like they were like extremely armed. Like this was, 1980. No one had guns like these guys had, and one of the that gun was one of them. So this guy, so in my mind, that's a very famous shootout that happened. Where like 5 dudes versus who were just completely overarmed on the cops. Gigantic shootout in the streets of California. Bank heist, like everything is there. That gun was one of them. So it makes me think all right, did Michael Mann go and he's referencing that? Because on the flip side of that, now we have so in that case it's all right, art imitating life, and then you have life imitating art. The guys in 1997 in the North Hollywood shootout, which is a famous shootout where there's 2 guys robbing a bank, and previously had also done armored truck robberies.
Oh.
They rolled out and they were rocking I'm pretty sure they were rocking AKs and stuff like that. But, again, a giant shootout, but also a familiarity with the movie where they're rocking, they're going out, they're hitting armored trucks, they're doing a bank heist, So it's a weird, trilogy of weird things that surround this movie in a weird way. So, and and having in my opinion, I was talking to Mike about this too, is that all right, in the mid 90s, like I said earlier, having something that's an M4 style assault rifle and having that in the movie, or having something like a Heckler or Koch in the movie like that makes sense to me, because what was really big in the mid 90s were HK was really big, MP5s were really big, Die Hard made MP5s huge. All that stuff was very big. Rainbow Six, Tom Clancy, those were all huge things. So those weapon choices make sense to me. Throwing in a weird Israeli assault rifle and a weird Belgian assault rifle are strange choices, in my opinion.
Right. And so I don't know, because like I said, it does seem like there was an intentionality, and the parallels, like you had mentioned, between those huge shootouts and bank robbery cases that came out, was probably 7 years before the movie was in production or whatever. I could see why he would want to incorporate some of those things. And just from the little bit I know, and maybe most of my information about the Hollywood shootout was from the Scarlet Thread Society podcast that Mike and Paz did, talking about it. But it does seem to have those a lot of parallels between sort of what was going on. I mean, not exactly, because the circumstances surrounding that bank robbery, but inspired by and or influential on this, I could see. Mm-hmm.
There's another aspect to this too that I think maybe a lot of people don't pick up on. And it's that Michael Mann did Heat once already. It was called L.A. Takedown. It was a TV movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did a TV movie called L.A. Takedown. A couple of the actors in Heat were also in that movie. There's the guy who played Waingro in that movie plays a different character in Heat. I forget who it is. I think that came out either. I don't remember. I want to say maybe in the 80s. Because it was after Miami Vice. I'm gonna get on my computer and look it up, because he did that movie, and it's I've never seen it, but it's supposed to be kind of schlocky. And then so he decided to do 1989 is when he did it, and so it's almost the same plot. I mean, it's it was a pilot for what was supposed to be a TV show, but it's the same. Al Pacino's character is the same name. It's almost basically the same movie, but he is just the much better, more produced version.
Right, big Hollywood blockbuster versus made-for-TV movie. I did.
So L.A. Takedown, 1989. That was only 9 years after that Norco shootout.
So that would make a lot of sense. I did see also that apparently Michael Mann wrote a novelization of a sequel/prequel to Heat.
Yeah, Heat 2, and people have told me that it's pretty interesting.
Sequel/prequel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it other than when I was looking around at information for the show this afternoon that someone had referenced it, and I'm like,
yes.
why haven't I heard about this? This is the first I've been told.
It's a sequel where it follows Val Kilmer's character who got away. It follows his character,
right.
And then like the prequel part of it is, I think it's like Pacino and De Niro's characters respectively before they get into the movie, because like there's the whole line that De Niro has that's like, don't get yourself attached to something that you whatever.
You can't drop in 30 seconds when you see the heat around the corner.
You can't get away from 30 seconds or whatever.
It's like a throwaway line when he first says it. He says it to Val Kilmer when he like spends the night at his house or whatever, and he's like, oh, he mentions some guy's name. He's like basically like the mentor of these guys, and so it talks about him meeting that guy in the book in Heat 2.
Yeah, well, that's cool. But no, I would say that it was a very important line and a very important concept for the film itself, because it is a fundamental commandment by which De Niro's character lives his life, and he tries to instill it in everybody. He's like, listen, even when they find out that the cops are onto him, they all get together in that parking lot after they escape the bullion depository heist, and he's like,
yeah,
it's now. The heat's around the corner. 30 seconds from now, we're gone. Or we're in on this one last job or whatever.
Yeah, I really like when they say heat in this movie, because there's the whole like, oh, like when people say the movie name, I don't know why, but like it's like Trejo says it at some point where he's like, yeah, like I can't. It's like he's like, there's too much heat on me, and I don't know why, but it like makes me laugh really hard.
That's the name of the movie, Elrond.
It's like the only movie I feel that way about. Like I watched it last night and I was watching it and it gets to the part where he's like, sorry man, like I can't shake him, like there's too much heat on me, and I just started laughing. Like I thought it was so funny.
No, I don't know. I get mixed opinions on the sequence of events that lead up to the bank robbery shootout stuff right there at the end. Trejo and his abandoning the crew, and then the guy that we just have 2 scenes with before to sub in as the driver, and we try to build some sort of connection with him in those scenes, but I think it's kind of tacked on. The happenstance that the diner that they're meeting up with just prior to doing this giant bank heist is the place where they recognize a guy working as a fry cook.
in all of LA.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, hey, you see that guy? You remember him? He's like, that's the guy from prison. He's like, oh, he is also a wheelman. Happens to be.
It makes me wonder if there are like more scenes shot.
Oh, that could be. This is already 3 hours or whatever.
I never watched deleted scenes, so it makes me wonder if like maybe like he filmed like a bunch more scenes about this guy or something. I don't know. Because it's like you only see him a couple of times.
Yeah, and then
it's just him being abused by his boss.
Yes,
and like crying to his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, there's an aspect to this, and it's a big theme to the movie, but specific to that guy, they try to then bring back after the robbery. We cut to his wife, girlfriend, whoever in the bar or whatever.
She's in the bar.
And she learns that he died or whatever in it. And it's supposed to be like this, oh, I can't believe the tragedy of this loss. And it's like, we don't know that guy. You haven't developed him, and we're supposed to feel this connection. So I would agree that it seems like there was maybe supposed to be more, but you can't make the movie 5 hours long or whatever.
It's kind of weird, too, because it adds in, like, the fact that, like, all these, like, it seems like all of these guys had been in prison. They all were in Folsom at some point. I don't know if they're all in Folsom prison together, but like, like that guy, he's on probation or whatever. That's why he's getting that job. And like, that's why she's proud of him. Like he's turning his life around, like da-da-da-da. So it's like that, it adds in like that aspect of it. It's like, oh, like these guys are all like, they were all in prison, like hardcore.
Right.
But like, he's only in the movie like a couple of times. It doesn't work, but it like sort of like, it's, I don't know, it like lends itself to it, but it doesn't really like go the whole way.
Where it works is, and this is where I see a major theme of the film, because on the surface it's about this crew, and it's a cat and mouse game between them and these cops. And like you said, this elite crew of cops, and they establish that in the first scene when they investigate the Brinks truck murder heist, and they say, is this going to be a murder homicide? And he's like, yeah, we're going to take it because this isn't some jamokes off the street knocking over the place, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the movie is actually, and what Michael Mann was really trying to tell us was a deeper story about the interpersonal relationships between men and women, and the motivations that men have that drive them into conflict with their romantic partners.
Mm-hmm.
And it's shown in almost every single character in the movie at different stages and different, I would say, like, archetypal characteristics of the masculine in those relationships. So you have your Al Pacino and his wife desperate to connect with him, but misunderstanding him, and I would say them not having a meeting of the minds of the gravity of their situations. And so all of the scenes between Al Pacino and his wife are, I'm trying to connect with you. Why aren't we connecting? I made dinner, and I don't understand why that's not more important to you. And he's like, I don't know what you're not understanding. I catch murderers. I can't be here 4 hours ago to eat chicken with you because I was scraping dead bodies off the pavement, you know? And it's all these things.
It makes me wonder.
In addition to that, though,
go ahead, Adam.
In addition to that, that's his like third wife too. So you could tease out of that it's like a constant reoccurring thing with either him like as like himself or like just like the role that he's in as this homicide detective.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like, it makes me wonder if he just like that's like his type. Like these like young, pretty, like women who are like living in their like weird modernist homes, like somehow have money. Like, what does she even do? Like,
yeah. Doesn't he complain about her like because she's not even living in her home, right? It's her like ex-husband.
Yeah, she got the house from.
Doesn't he like do that as postmodernist or his modernist tech guy home or whatever?
Is that when he like throws he like steals the TV or whatever?
Oh, that was after he comes home and catches her because he made her because of his lack of attention demean herself and have sex with that guy in their own bed. And then he's like, you can't watch my TV. I'm taking this with me. But
that guy, he's like, I didn't know.
Sit down!
I love like Pacino's character is just I just love the fact that it's just like him coked out the whole time. Like that's so funny to me. Like he's just like raging.
It was great, and
so unpredictable.
I love it for the most part.
When I was watching it, I felt like, oh man, he's gonna like shoot someone because I know like all the prior, all the roles that he's played with like connections with organized crime and stuff. But I'm like, well, he's a detective, so I mean, I don't know. But that makes sense then. I didn't know he was playing like he was either A, coked out in real life, or B, was playing a coked out detective. That would, oh man, either one makes sense.
Did Pacino, I mean, did he have like a fucking, did he have a party face?
I don't know.
Oh, the network's gonna find.
I'll have to mark this one with the swears.
Oh,
I don't know if he had a party face. I imagine he probably did because I imagine all those guys did. I think that it makes more sense to me in my mind after you said it that he was playing it, but that also just sounds like cope back-ended by Pacino, who watched himself and he's like, I was on too much coke,
But in 1995, like, how old was Pacino in 95? Like, I mean, he wasn't, like, young anymore, you know? Like, this wasn't, like, Pacino and Godfather.
Right.
It's ridiculous, like, looking at pictures, because I've been on this weird tip where I've been, for, like, months now, I've been telling myself I'm going to rewatch the first 2 Godfather movies. And I haven't done it because it's sort of like a weird undertaking, because I haven't seen them in such, like, a really long time. And yeah, like watching, like when I see clips of him in those, like he's so young. And then like, and Heat, you know, that movie is almost 20 years old now. He's aged so much. And I mean, he looks old in that movie.
He aged rapidly too, because it was like the first Godfather movie. He looks like he's like 22 years old, and then Godfather 2, he looks like he's 45, and then Godfather 3, he looks like he's in his 60s, and he's looked like that ever since.
How much of that is makeup, though?
I think it's real, because you see him in. He's hard to look at. Al Pacino aged like cottage cheese.
Wasn't that one of the issues with Godfather Part 1 where they had what's his name? Marlon Brando. Like they put like so much, like, you know, he was old, but like they put like a ton of makeup on him, didn't they? Like there was like some issue where like he complained about it or something.
Marlon Brando is a weirdo, and a genius and a legendary actor and a weirdo. So I don't know. I just remember like the rumors that I've heard about his filming of Apocalypse Now, and
legendary.
His method of he's like
not rumors, it's legend.
He's like I don't need to memorize my lines because I wouldn't know what I was going to say at the time if I was me in the film. So I need an earpiece. You have to tell me my line right before I say it.
If I remember correctly, there's a story about him in Apocalypse Now where like they couldn't understand what he was saying, so they like wanted the studio like not what's his face, not the director, but the studio wanted to overdub him with someone else.
Oh my gosh, no way.
If I remember correctly, like I don't quote me, but like, I feel like I saw a story like that somewhere.
That would make sense because he was like
they're behind the cameras and be like, oh my gosh, what the.
Oh, why did we get this guy?
There was the reason that and also the reason that Kurtz is always shot in like dark shadows too, because he was so messed up. Like they were like, we can't have this guy on camera like this. Like he
was just like
I thought he was
40 pounds overweight, wasted the whole time. Yeah.
I don't know. What did I don't know.
80 pounds overweight.
Yeah, it might have been from Zach that I heard that, like, he even after I watched it and he told me all these things, he's like, no, man, it was like the movie from hell to be shot because everyone had their own problems.
Right? Who was it? Who directed Apocalypse Now? Was it Coppola?
Yeah.
It wasn't the same as Godfather.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's like they had all the set was set up, and then like a storm blew it down, and it cost like $2 million, and so he was just like totally like, just like the studio was so mad at him about like everything that could have gone wrong in that movie went wrong. That production.
Yeah.
On the topic of Heat and people that look old, Jon Voight's character.
It's golden.
No,
he was probably my favorite character in the entire show.
Oh, that's really all the scenes where he's like towards the end when he like tells De Niro where Waingro is, like at the very end, he looks battered. Like he looks old.
Yes, that's intentional. Obviously, he's got a mullet and he's got that sick mustache.
Oh my gosh. You know who he looks like? He looks like Revolver Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid 2.
I don't know what you're talking about, but sure.
Dang it! It's such a. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know
my
either.
God. I'm so upset that I just figured this out right now.
He is obviously made up, but like to appear like just like a scumbag. But his character is perfect because it is
He's sick.
contrasting that, right? He looks schlubby. He
Yeah.
drives a bad
And
car.
it's like, and it's
He's
weird
got that
because his
mullet and
character, it's like he's like a schlubby, like he's got the mullet. He's sort of like, you know, he comes off as like, in my mind, like some sort of like, you know, like he could have been in Casino or something. Like he's like a Vegas gangster
Oh,
guy or something.
Yes.
And like, you know, but like he's like this dude who's like he's like putting on these like crazy scores and like hooking them up with like all these like weird deals and stuff. Like he's like a weird high-end crime lord, and like he's soft-spoken. He's not really like, you know, he doesn't like, he's not really talking trash or anything. He's just like, yeah, you know, I got, like
I
another
was
job over
expecting
here.
him to. When I was watching that, I was expecting him to like double cross the guys because of either Van Zandt or Wayne Grow, or you know, I was
Yeah.
expecting him to like sell them out from under themselves or whatever. But no, he was like loyal to the end or whatever because they were loyal to him
Yeah.
and stuff.
Consummate
that's-
Which was
professional.
like
actually
when
very
he's-
surprising based off of his physical appearance.
Yeah, he's smooth. Like it's like when that scene where he's talking to Van Zandt, he's like, yeah, you know, we didn't know that the bearer bonds were yours, but you know, we can give them back to you for like this stuff. He does that deal. It's like, oh, like you're cutting a deal right now. Like you're a boss, but like you're smooth about it. Like you're not like strong arming anyone. He's just straight up like, yeah, sorry, like we didn't know.
No, that was sick. That was totally sick, and that was part of the character development of Van Zandt himself, because John Voight's character, so Nate says, look, he came up with the idea of it and presented it to Neil, and he said, listen, there's no reason why this doesn't work. It's genius. The guy makes money. We make money. It doesn't even matter.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody even knows that these are his bearer bonds that got stolen or whatever else, so I don't know why
Yeah.
he would be upset. So we just
Yeah.
make this deal, and we earn an extra like 30% or whatever, and it's totally cool. So he's the fixer. He's got all these connections. He's got his ear to the street. I'm sure he's probably mobbed up or something with the local organized crime, and he's their connection, right?
Yeah.
He's what greenlights them
Right.
to be able to do their scores and whatever in that territory.
Because he's like getting them. It's like one of the weird details about the movie that I notice is that when they all go out to dinner and Pacino and all the cops are like surveilling them as they come out of the restaurant and everything. They're like, they mentioned that like, oh, like these guys have hit the metal depository like 3 times, and then like, you know, like the next thing is like that's like they go to the metal depository. It's like, hold on a second, like are they're just hitting the same building over and over and over again, and like the building isn't like upping security, but like John Voight's character is like the guy who like, you know, helping them out with these scores and is like sort of like a fence, I think, as well. So it's like is he involved in like making sure that building just continuously gets hit by the same guys? Like if you hit it 3 times and then you're doing it a 4th time, why isn't there more security? Like what's going on there? Like, you know, because they mentioned, they're like, yeah, like they stole like, you know, all these, you know, these precious metals and stuff that are like high priced metals. You know, that's what De Niro's character is like reading about, like da 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 da. It's like, well, like why? Like so the same building just keeps getting hit over and over and over again. John Voight's character is like the dude who's like in charge of all these jobs. So like, is he involved with like this building's, you know, the whole setup of this building where like they can just keep getting hit and like there's no extra security, no one bats an eye about it, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like weird little details like that. Like I don't get it.
I think that was hand waved over. I think that what they were talking about was that so Val Kilmer's character has a line in it where it's not them knocking it over, but that is a place that is robbed regularly.
Yeah.
Pacino's character earlier does say that this crew has been knocking it over, and they think that that's where they're going to go next, and there's really no basis for that developed in the story. So I think it's just manufactured as part of the plot to have them be able to intercept them and have that whole contrivance of Neil noticing the sound and having his instincts triggered, and he's immediately out. We're walking. it was a cool character development scene, but again, like some of the foundation, I would say, in a lot of the scenes in the movie, I don't know why it doesn't make sense in continuity how that exists.
I can't tell if it's. Since I'm on the pie, I want to smoke a cigarette, but I'm gonna have to do it inside my apartment, and I just really hate doing it.
I will allow you to smoke outside of your apartment if you want to.
Yeah, well, it's for some reason my my service is shoddy out there.
Oh, okay.
So I'll break off. But I know, yeah, it doesn't really make sense. But there's like these weird, like, it's like there's like these throwaway lines about it though that try to make it make sense. And it's weird to me because, like, you know, I've watched movies so many times in the last like few months that like I notice all of them now. Like I notice like all these like little intricacies about these things. Like, yeah, like Pacino's line about it, Val Kilmer's line about it, da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, like, did, you know, Michael Mann, he's such an exacting director. It's like, is this intentional, or like, did you like really just like mess this up? Because I can't really see him messing it up like that.
Yeah, I see it as a. Again,
I see it as like a weird like professional thing in a weird way, where it's like, oh, like these guys just there's like, you know, like they have connections. Like there's all these connections. Like everyone, like another weird thing about the movie is like there's just so many connections. Like all these guys connected through Folsom Prison. Like they've done all these jobs together. Like da 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 da. Jon Voight's character has all these connections. Like he gets them hooked up with the computer hacker guy who gets them the bank job. You know, like there's all sorts of connections going on with these dudes, and like maybe that's just another one. The metal depository has some sort of connection to Jon Voight's character. You can just keep hitting it. He just tells you, hey, like there's going to be all these metals in there. Here's what you're looking at. And it's just like a cash cheat, basically, like a GTA 5 cash cheat.
Yeah, I could see that, and I could also see like I like that that interpretation because it answers the questions, and it makes sense in the context of the idea he had of the insurance covers the cost of the bearer bonds anyway. Right?
I was just about to say there's probably something involving insurance. They could probably get insurance fraud thing too, like someone's connection.
He has a back end insurance fraud scam with whoever runs the bullion depository, so that they periodically get robbed with money or with whatever goods are in there that are probably overvalued to the insurance company, so that when they get robbed, they get a paycheck, and then whoever does the score then gets whatever the value is of the metals, which was less than what it was insured for, but sufficient to pull off the heist.
And then it's like, you know, there's De Niro sitting there when he meets his girlfriend or whatever, which I think is a really funny scene. When he meets her, like the book he checks out from the library is like about precious metals or whatever. So like these guys are heavy into the metals. Like they're really into this. Like it wasn't
just precious metals, alright. It was fracturing of titanium or something. So it was. I took the scene because I see what you're saying, and I think that makes sense too. But it was almost like a breaking into Brinks trucks and stuff. It's like how to defeat metal and things like that.
I missed that then. I was literally just thinking like, oh, like these guys just really like knocking over precious metals.
No. It set up several different things, not the least of which was the relationship where De Niro finally has his like strictly disciplined facade fractured, and he is allowed his personal security onion to be penetrated 3 layers.
Oh, jeez.
He allowed her to perceive him and acquire him.
One of the funniest things about him dating that girl is just like all right, the audience knows already that this guy is like a hardened criminal, mastermind of like this like heist crew, you know what I mean? And then she's like this like 1990s hipster art girl who's like, oh yeah, like I do graphic design. I made a logo for a small record label and a couple of CDs, and it's like
Ace of
this
Base
is
my
like
favorite band.
yeah, it's like yeah. It's like she's listening. She like did a CD cover for like Guided by Voices or something. Like it's like this is who you're going for. This like grizzled criminal. Of course, she doesn't know that, but like I think that's so funny.
Right.
Oh, I graduated from Parsons.
The whole thing was weird, and I don't know because
she's like, oh hey, what are you reading? He's like, what? You talking to me? You asking what I'm reading? What? He's like, what is it? And I'm like, oh my gosh. He just like, I know. It's like, Nikki, what? Where?
hey,
Stab her in the
don't
neck.
talk to me.
Oh wait, wrong movie.
Who are you? Minding my business. But
Yeah.
Heat of a movie like Heat, out of all the movies, has a meet cute. You know what that is?
yes.
Okay.
No, I have no clue.
Well, it's
What-
a
what
Hollywood
do you-
contrivance.
what?
You set up how the main character meets his or her love interest by a cute meetup. How
Yeah,
they
it's like
serendipitously meet each other.
Typical, like it's like a rom-com trope.
Yeah,
It's called a what?
a meet cute. Meet cute.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear. I heard. I heard Beach Cube, and I got hungry, so I didn't know what. I was like, oh man, some kebabs or something.
But the way I look at it is, and this is, I think what the movie is, like I had mentioned, is really about, is there are different archetypal relationships between men and women that are being played out in the film over the course of the 3 hours. Al Pacino and his wife, like we had talked about, and then you have, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Edie. And so it's like he's met someone who he has a real connection with, and it's so powerful to him that it has transformed him from this guy who's willing to drop anything in 30 seconds to where he is going to give up all of his life as he knows it now. He's going to sacrifice it all to be with this woman. He even talks to Al Pacino about her.
Doesn't he
Still
like
ditches her.
condemn Val Kilmer's character earlier with like Ashley Judd and be like, what are you talking about? You should be like, doesn't he talk about like a 30 seconds thing
Yes,
with her? It's
exactly.
What are you
Yes.
doing, man?
Oh yeah.
What are you
and Val,
doing, man?
and Val Kilmer says, for me, like she's
The sun
she's
The sunshine.
rises
Yeah.
and sets with her.
yeah, the sun rises and
Yes,
sets with her,
yes.
man.
And De Niro can't understand that, right? Because
He
he
doesn't have anything.
doesn't have anything. He realizes what Val Kilmer was talking about when he gets that connection with Edie. It was like that. And that's the way it happens in real life. And it was depicted perfectly. It was like he let down his walls for just an instant and allowed this woman who he had just met penetrate his onion and fell
Oh.
instantly
Stop.
madly in love with her. But Val Kilmer's character is another key element of this continuum, because Charlene and Chris's relationship was like that, right? At one point in time, they had met and they were passionately in love and they had that connection. The sun rises and sets with her in his mind, but he is feeling trapped, right? The first scene with him, and there was this Substack that was put out that was talking about this, and it's called The Thought-Provoking Article on the Portrayal of Married Men in Popular Culture, and they had an element the first part was on Heat, and it says the henpecked hero. And it talks about Al Pacino's character and how his wife and him are at odds, as we had discussed. But it doesn't end there. First scene with Charlene and Chris, what happens?
They get in that argument, right?
Yeah, this isn't enough money, Chris. You're not getting enough out of
It's
this.
like $8,000 or whatever.
This risk is more than you should be taking. You're not doing enough. You're not being enough. You're not big enough of a man, and you're wasting your money. You're a gambling addict. You're just aren't enough for me. You need to be more than that. A woman is now putting these demands on her man. She is saying that I need you to be more, and she's pushing him to be more, but he doesn't want to deal with that. It's a hassle. Isn't this enough for you? Aren't I doing this? You don't even understand what's going on. Why are you hassling me? And it ends up in that blow up where he throws a thing and an
Oh yeah, he
aggression,
breaks the picture.
and he drives off in his sports car really fast. Right?
Like that's the whole thing about all the guys is that like it comes to that head where they're all meeting up with each other and they're like, do you want to do this job? And De Niro's trying to like talk some of them out of it. And, Sizemore, his family dynamic seems to be solid. Like, he's buying his wife jewelry, like they're going out to dinners, like he has kids, like da 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 da. But even he's like, this isn't enough for me. Like
right?
he's like, the action is the juice. Like he's like, this isn't enough for me.
Yeah.
Trejo, he has a wife. It doesn't really show. It only shows him with his wife in a brief moment in that dinner sequence. But then even he's like, yeah, man, like I'm down to do it. Like, so it's like none of these guys, all of these guys are just like constrained by this like normalized family life and the nuclear family and the way that like it's supposed to be, but they can't get enough of this like high end, high octane lifestyle of like knocking over scores, making crazy money, like doing all this like crazy stuff. Like it just like that is what satiates them. It's the family lifestyles like aren't doing it for them. Although like they secretly they wish that they had those lifestyles. Like obviously like De Niro wishes he has that lifestyle, Pacino wishes he had that lifestyle on the other end. But as far as like De Niro's crew, like they're struggling to like get through like having a normal lifestyle with these people, like having a normal family and stuff like that. And
Absolutely.
It's fun. Like they do have fun. They go out to dinners. They're having a good time. Like it's what's interesting. So like what's interesting to me and like it's something that I always think about when you get to the dinner scene where they're all at dinner and like Tom Sizemore's character is like, his daughter's there. He's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And everyone's laughing and like he's giving his wife the I think it's like a really nice ring or something like that. He's flaunting like.
Just don't ask him where it came from.
Yeah. They're flaunting. He's flaunting like the lifestyle and stuff. It's really interesting to me because like another De Niro movie, Goodfellas. What happens? Those guys they do the big Lufthansa heist in Goodfellas, and then he's like, don't go out and buy a bunch of fancy stuff. They go out and buy a bunch of fancy stuff, and then De Niro's like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to get police attention, da 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 da. And then it's the exact opposite. Like, they flaunt fancy stuff from their earnings of these, like, giant heists. And, like, the only one who's actually seems to be really happy about any of it is Sizemore, who then turns around and goes, hey, man, like, for me, like, the action is the juice. So it's like, well, like, like your whole entire family set up, like, you're doing all this stuff, you're buying your family nice things, taking care of your family. Like, you're the only one who seems to have some sort of, like, normalized relationship with your family, but then it's still not enough for you.
It was intentional.
Not enough for him.
That was intentionally set up and explicitly in that scene where they meet up after they realize that the cops have made them after the failed bouillon heist. They set it up where Neil's character explicitly says, "You're made. You have money laid away. Your wife takes care of you.
You have real estate investments.
You have all this stuff.
Yeah,
you don't need this.
all the boring investments, right?
If you're asking me,
and
I'm you, I'm out. I'm cutting loose. I don't need this. It's over." And that's when you get the famous line, "The action is the juice." And again, it shows this dynamic, right? Because it has set up now Sizemore's character with his wife as this settled family man scenario. They have it made. They have everything, but there's something about him, right? Like this masculine drive to danger and adventure, and that's what he's really after, up to and including sacrificing all that he has, all of the domestic bliss and the dream scenario that people wish for, but that's doesn't do it for him, and he would be willing to throw that away, just to not even for the money, because I don't think he even cares. The action is the juice.
Right.
It's doing the heist, blasting these guys, beating up the bank guards, and getting the money, fighting the cops in the street.
Right. Taking little children as hostage.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's not even just his own family. Like he's picking up like children as hostages to like get away. Like he's putting like he had just like, it's obviously anything to get away, but like still like like he has kids himself. Like the really cool thing about the movie is that it is like so almost like it's each of the guys has their own personality and everything. And Sizemore, with his family and everything, like you see this like side of him in the dinner scene, but then you see like the shootout where he picks the little girl up. It's like pure nihilism almost in a way. It's like it's just all about like going. Like he really doesn't care about anything. Like it's like he's like, I want to get out of here. Does he really even want to get out of there to go back to his family? But like he obviously doesn't give a crap about like what some like random little girl. He doesn't even reflect on like, oh, like I have little kids. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's no thought about that. It's just like little girl hostage. Like boom, like I'm out.
I think that
that bank robbery scene, like I knew I knew it was coming, and I knew it was gonna be like action packed. But that was like
sick.
I was expecting it to be like a 5 out of 10, but it was like a 10 out of 10. Like the way that they did it, the way that they. I don't know what I was expecting, but the directing and the acting, it was expert level. It was so cool.
And it's such a like legendary sequence. Like you hear so many stories. So the guy that helped them who was like their like advisor for that is a guy who was in the SAS. I forget his name. And I've heard like multiple different like versions of this story, and I'm sure Michael Mann has probably talked about it at some point. But like they talked about how like I think it's like the Marine Corps saw that and were like, oh, like this is how like they teach people to like go through like to do like covering fire and such. Like when you need to like advance.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They were conceal and cover, and then they were doing suppressive fire while they were moving, and it was and then the person who would get advance, then they would do the suppressing fire while the other person is moving. So it's exactly. I mean, even the Marines. I mean, shoot, that's like Navy SEAL tactics.
Yeah, and that's why when I was talking about the guns, I have a feeling that like Sizemore's. I don't remember like what those guns have, but I have a feeling Sizemore's gun is probably like a 308, so it's like a huge round, and like it seems like he's in the position. They don't show him that much in the shootout itself until like when he gets his part, but like there's a few you do see shots where he's like facing like the line of police cars, and he's just like just like going at it, and it seems like he's sort of got like some sort of like support fire role, big time like.
He gets separated from.
Yeah, showing on screen right now.
Daryl Kilmer.
Well,
it seems like he gets separated from
Michael and Chris both get shot in the scene and take fire, but then he is separated off from the rest of them by the chaos of the shootout that's happening or whatever.
I love all the like weird small roles that are in the movie. Like, all right, it's like Val Kilmer gets shot. They take him to the doctor. The doctor's Jeremy Piven.
Yes. I love that.
And then I love
your
that.
shirt.
Yeah,
my daughter gave me this.
My daughter.
Yeah. and then like Van Zant's bodyguard, secondhand man is Henry Rollins.
Yes.
Like I remember being a kid and like, God, like I don't remember when I first saw I was definitely like a kid though. And I think it's like my dad probably showed it to me or it was on TV or something like that. And then like when I started getting into music, everyone's, like a lot of people online were like, oh, like Henry Rollins, he's in Heat. And I remember like watching it and being like, oh, like that's Henry Rollins. Like that's so weird because it's just like not him. Like as I know him from like Black Flag and stuff like that. And like, yeah, now when I watch it, I'm like, yo, he's such a like weird diabolical character. He's just like a robot. Like he just has like no emotion.
It's, plus the fact that Elrod, the fact that like the style of the suits too were like boxy back then in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so he even has that like robotic.
He's a giant rectangle. It's fine.
Yeah. He's just like a big. He's just like a big jawline.
Yes, exactly. I think that was the key to his role. He had like 3 lines in the whole thing. One of them was getting thrown through a plate glass window by Al Pacino. But I think that that this has been a really good conversation. We are approaching the end of our show here, and so maybe this calls for a part 2, where we can come back and talk about other things. But I think it was a good conversation, and to finish out our evening, I will break it down with our ice cold fact of the week, coming to you straight from Ice-T himself. Ice cold fact: never confuse popularity with talent or respect. Ice cold fact. And with that, concludes our episode of Triggered for the week. We really hope you liked the show, folks. And if you did, smash like, subscribe, and share this episode with all of your friends. You can find all of our social media handles on the screen. We have Adam Furman at Adam S. Furman. We have Tully here at Rip City Thug. At Zachary W_Clark and at Triggered_Media.
Yes, sir.
All right, and here at the end of the show, Adam, is there anything that you would like to end the show with?
No, Zachary.
All right, as usual, Adam has nothing to end the show.
I cede my time.
All right, Elrod, did you have anything you'd like to add here at the end of the show?
I got a shout out to my boys, editor of a magazine, Apocalypse Confidential. Got a shout out to them. They are big Heat fans over there. I hope some of them are listening. Probably not. They're all really busy, and also they don't really like me that much. So,
you are editor at large for AppCon.
I know. I got to give a shout out to my boy Tom, who's the poetry editor. He's a big watch guy, and me and him have talked about Al Pacino's watch in the movie, which is a Bulgari Diagonal, and you only see it in one scene, and it's when he kills Tom Sizemore. He pulls the gun up, and the watch comes out of the sleeve. Amazing watch, very nice, very classy.
Well, he will probably like this episode, and you should probably share it with him.
Oh yeah, no, they know.
All right. That's the show, everyone. And we will see you next time on Trigger.
Part 2.
Part 2.